All right, everyone, welcome to the March meeting of the CentOS Board of Directors. All board members are present except Mike McLean, who notified us that he would not be able to attend today. We have 3 guests, but I suspect we might get a couple more as we go. Link for the previous meeting minutes are there. Ooh, we were missing Steve. I was off my count. All right, now we have everyone besides Mike. All right. As we do every year, I do a check-in to make sure all the other directors are happy with their current leadership. I've already done the check with Pat and Tomas to see if they wanted to remain in their positions, and I as well am willing to stay in my position. Is there anyone who would possibly like to run for a board position? Has any issues with your current leadership, so on and so forth, that we would need to plan on a vote? All right, let's just so we have a visual for all those people who have their mics off. If everyone is happy with the current leadership, oh, thank you, Jeffra. So Jeffra's nominating all of us to remain. Penny's going up arrows on that. Let's just get a thumbs up from everyone who would like us to stay and a thumbs down for anyone who doesn't want us to stay. All right. It looks like we have majority to stay on. Thank you all for your confidence in our leadership. Okay, so Freckle check-in. I told Brendan we didn't need him to log in this afternoon. We did receive the email from him, and there has been some discussion on that. There is now the Freckle channel on Matrix. But I did leave, can we possibly do something in Boston? And I am trying to get some input as to RHEL decision makers who could join us, and not just Brendan and his team, of which I believe so far the only one I've heard will attend is Carl. And we spoke to Carl last week, and we speak to Carl every day. So the idea was being just to get some new leadership from the RHEL side to come in and talk to us. So I am still waiting to hear on that. I know Davida has already made some travel arrangements, and he is the only one I've heard from so far on as far as that. So we would need to do it by Friday afternoon if we're going to do something. So that's still up in the air, but for those of you who are attending Red Hat Summit and are in the process of making arrangements, I would say it will be Thursday afternoon or Friday morning if we should do something. And to be honest with you, I know Sean has a family thing. He will be leaving Thursday morning, but in all likelihood, people were planning on leaving either Thursday night or most likely on Friday afternoon or morning. So I think we're okay to still leave that tentative and folks to actually make some travel arrangements. And just a reminder, we were doing a board meeting on Sunday, so most likely folks are going to arrive on Saturday afternoon or evening, with the brave people arriving Sunday morning, because I don't trust planes to actually arrive when they're supposed to. So I will be there on Saturday. Does anyone want to? Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Amy, sorry to interject. Quick question. Did we lock down what time on Sunday the meeting's going to be? Because I'm driving up, so I'll probably be coming up either late Saturday or early Sunday.
I think I put in for the room for 8 or 9, so we could get a full day in. Does that work for you driving?
Yeah, that's fine. Just if we're going to start early on Sunday, I'll just have to leave a bit earlier, but either one is fine.
How far off are you?
I'm in New York. It's about, let's say, 3 hours with
Okay.
some buffer in there. So, I mean, if we start at 9, I don't mind leaving at 6. Doesn't make a difference. I just want to make sure that I know what to prepare for.
why don't we plan for 9? And depending on how the agenda fleshes out, it might become 9:30 or 10 to give you a little more room, but we won't go earlier than 9. I don't want you waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Either one is I'm awake anyway, so either one is perfectly fine.
All right, let's go for 9. Davida?
Do we have a location locked in for the Sunday one already?
Yes, we have a room at the Red Hat building for Sunday. We will need to escort everybody. There will be no one on site. I told everyone that we were adults and we could clean up after ourselves, not make a mess, so on and so forth, because there is going to be no staff there. And if we want to order in food, someone will have to go down and meet it, or we'll have to go out. So it shouldn't be too bad, but I figured that way, if we invited Mike McGrath to join us for a short period of time, and we're close enough to the convention center for anyone who's busy over there. Sean and I can run over for any AV checks or anything that we're needed for and get back quickly. For everyone else in the meeting, Davida had offered space at Meta and Jack had offered space at Microsoft. And if we do a Freckle meeting, we may need to take one of you up for that. But being that we had multiple things that probably needed to be done Sunday in relation to Red Hat Summit, I figured closest is better. And I believe, Jeffrey, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we're probably 3 blocks away.
It's about that, yeah. It's maybe a 10-minute walk at the most.
Okay, Jack?
So we definitely can't trash the place, is what you're saying.
You can trash it, but then Sean and I have to clean it up.
Well, what if we just what if we just leave a whole bunch of CentOS rules written all over all of the windows?
We could do it on the whiteboards.
So that might actually already be the case.
You think so?
No. I was just there today. I could say that that's not on the window.
Only if Jeffro gets there a day before us to do it himself.
He does live in Boston now. He could go do it. So we will have to coordinate a little bit just to make sure there's a Red Hatter who can walk non-Red Hatters up and so on. The room does have virtual capabilities, Pat, for you to join, and Tomas, I'll assume you'll join in the morning if you can. I don't expect you to stay there all day because it'll be getting later in the day for you. So those are the plans as they stand for board meeting and Freckle. While we are talking time, I know things are going to change in the next couple of weeks for you, Tomas, with time change catching up, I believe. Maybe. Is this still a good time for you? Or do we want to move it?
For me, it's fine because basically it's still the same for me. It doesn't change anything.
Okay.
So
even after the time change?
Even if those time changes go back to normal. So
okay. All right. Anyone on the North America?
Go back to normal. Did that mean following European daylight savings then? So we'll be back to. So on the next one, we'll be back an hour for those of us who changed times already.
I don't think so. I think we're UTC, in which case we stay. Which is why the next 2 weeks is hell on meeting times.
Okay, I'll double check, but I think it's still fine. But yeah, I will double check just to be sure. I think we're fine, but yeah, I'll raise it to the channel in case something changes.
All right. We'll make sure we're on the right time. Anything else on board/Freckle meetings? All right, David, I had a GitLab update, and so that would be you and possibly Sean if he's heard back from GitLab.
On my end, we continued using it for hyperscale. We had good success. We spun up a whole testing pipeline for systemd based on the CI there. That's working really well. I'm working with the engineer that worked on it, and we'll try to do a public write-up on it when it's slightly more fleshed out. But like ideally, we'll have a blog post or something for the CentOS blog, so other SIGs can use the same process if they want to for their packages. I don't know the state of the contract situation. Sean, do you know?
No, I have a contact at GitLab that I need to get back to. Have an introductory phone call. I think it's just a matter of knowing very specific questions to ask them. But
I have a feature request.
Can we
If you
write them
want
down?
to
Okay.
upload things that I can pass you after this meeting, because I don't think it's relevant for this room. But
I have feature requests too. But you know,
but basically they don't enable native virtualization on their workers, which means we have to use testing farm instead of using native GitHub workers, which seems wasteful because we have native workers on GitLab, so we could just use those. Anyway, I can send you offline. This is not important.
okay.
All right, and I just made a note of nested vert possible. All right, so basically, what I think from our discussions, what we're hoping to get from GitLab is confirmation that we're an open source project with free or low cost access. I believe we are free right now, so that would be the preferred. And if there's a limit to how many users we can have in it, I think.
Yeah, if there's any kind of resource limits to be aware of, that would be useful to know, whether users are CI minutes or whatever.
Those pipelines look really cool.
Yeah, we've been pretty happy with System D. It's coming along quite nicely.
Any other comments or questions about GitLab? We might actually be done early today. All right. Jonathan, Michelle, you are the main driving forces behind Fast Track SIG. We did not manage to get Brian Stinson or Perry here, just so you both are aware. So we had some discussions while we were at Scale in the hallway, because that's the best way to get folks together, is to put them in a hallway. So where we stand, and let me get the issue number on that and share it with folks. All right, hang on. What is the issue? Incoming to the chat. We are issue 130. And I will also put it in the HackMD as soon as I find that tab. There we go. All right. So we had some conversations and got a little bit of understanding. This is not just about the current lack of sync on some packages. Johnny, I know you're working on that. And that's also part of the reason why we were going to attempt to get Perry and Brian here, just so we can get some process that's repeatable to make sure we don't do this again. But there's also some differences between the just fixing that issue and the intent of the Fast Track SIG. In part, it's to get things in a little faster, but also, Jonathan and Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong from all the discussions we had, that it is also to get a little bit of new functionality in, things that may not be going around. Is that correct?
Yes, I think some of us care more about getting fixes, and some people care a bit more about functionality. But I would say the adding new functionality is secondary, and it's only if you can enable something without an incompatible change. So we probably should not focus too much on that.
All right. Question, are you guys in love with the name Fast Track SIG?
I'm not wedded to it. I think it's a name that's been bandied about previously. I believe Josh Boyer came up with it, so
Oh, okay.
I don't care what it's called,
That's
I know
It's something that it's something that we had in the past as well.
So might make sense because
All right. Let's also
continuity.
remember hands up just so we don't talk over each other. Go ahead, Pat.
The big question that I had was mostly about package withdrawal and when it's time to say, okay, this MR is not going to happen, and we pull it, and just generally workflow around that is my only real worry.
Jonathan, I know you had unmiked before. Was there something you wanted to say? And then we'll go to Michelle.
I was trying to get my mic working. No, Michelle pretty much covered it. I was just going to agree that new functionality is not really the primary focus at all. I don't even know if that's in scope of this. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I think Neil had one example, and that's why it probably was on the radar. But I mean, I don't think we should focus on it. Definitely not at the beginning. If we want to tack it on later, we should probably basically ask the board if that can be in scope. But yeah, I think, did Pat have a question about withdrawal? Jonathan and I talked about this at scale, and I think we say, well, we should only have a package in fast track as long as someone is willing to champion it. And the moment we give up on getting whatever fix it is into CentOS stream, we should retire that change or move it somewhere else.
Davide?
With regard to the edit functionality, I think in practice you will see a mix of rebases and minor MRs in this SIG, and the rebases can be edit functionality, but should still be the kind of thing where it's a rebase that is sensible to propose as a rebase for stream. It may or may not go through in stream, and in the meantime we can have it in fast track. But it should be within the same guidelines that I use for stream. Stream is getting laxer with rebases in general compared to previous releases. So I would not be surprised to find packages that are somewhat significant additions here, but it should still be within those parameters.
Okay, and I know you had thought of this as a possible home for some things that are going in a hyperscale.
Yes. So right now we're using hyperscale a lot for exactly for this, for we need this package rebased from 9.4 to 9.5. I was looking at MTR because I happen to need that for work today. That's the kind of thing where it's probably fine to rebase in stream as well, because I doubt anything major change, but it will take a while. The maintainer will have to judge whether it's worth it. And in the meantime, this is likely reasonable to do in fast track.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comments, concerns on this? I know our hope had been to have some real input on this from non-board members. I should be specific. And if the board is actually happy with this, I'm okay with holding a vote. First, I want to ask does anyone have an objection to the fast track name? And the reason why I'm just bringing this up is I understand that this is things to go faster, but we also want to make sure people don't think that this is Fedora fast, if that makes sense. So does anyone have any objection to fast track as the name of this SIG? Jack?
Yeah, so I don't think it's the greatest name, honestly, because on its face, it does make it seem like, Fedora Fast, let's say. But if no one has any other ideas, I'm okay with them getting set up and then figuring out what the name will be, maybe at the time that they get set up. But otherwise, I'm okay with it in principle. It just, I would prefer to have a different name.
Jonathan, then Troy.
You mean the F in CentOS isn't for fast? No, I'm not tied to the name for whatever that's worth as well. So
Troy?
Well,
Not
those of us like Johnny remember what Fast Track was. It was an old thing. And I remember back when we were using it with Scientific Linux and stuff, people got confused all the time. So, yeah. I'm not totally against it, but I would recommend a different name.
I'm reading through all these. Davida, go ahead.
CentOS Plus. That's also an old name, and I expect it to be even more confusing, which is why I didn't propose it originally, but it is an option.
I mean, we were talking about a usable system that might come out of this. I shouldn't say usable system because we are usable, but something that we would say, hey, if you want to try us, here's the output of this SIG, and I'm going to call it this SIG.
I like Pat's
And
idea.
that doesn't have to be the name of the SIG. They don't have to be the same. So some of our suggestions that have come up on track, just because I don't know if it's included with the recording. Tomas said fast and not furious track. Jeffro was expedited. Sean was rawhide SIG. Pat was hotfix. Michelle was upshift. Jeffro was less slow track. Tomas also added plus. Michelle said not plus, please. And then Lance put in just a plus sign. So that's where we're standing. I do kind of like the idea from Johnny of let's not hold up on this just over the name. Jack just put in rapid. The rapid SIG. But then you think rapid. The stream is going faster. We even talked about river. I don't hate upshift. See, and I keep going micro shift and open shift and so sorry. Michelle?
Yeah, I was about to say I kind of like expedited and hotfix in that it makes it obvious what the output is without implying that it's anything different like rawhide.
Okay, so you were in favor of hotfix, but there's going to be more than just hotfixes.
Yeah.
Davida?
I was thinking something around preview or proposed, but I don't know. They neither are good names. But I could see this taking some of the like we used to have proposed updates in 7 and earlier, and I could see this spiritually taking some of that space.
Okay, hotfix has a strong security focus, and Lance pointed out that Ubuntu, he thinks, uses proposed. I like the proposed, but that was something else too. Yeah, Debian has proposed backports, I think. Okay.
Yeah, both Ubuntu and Debian use proposed in kind of a similar way as well, which is why I don't hate us using it. It's only that, like Davida said, we used to have proposed as a different thing before, so I don't know if that creates confusion or not, but this is basically in a similar vein to what the other two distros do.
Yeah, and SCOS was building a dash next, but I don't know if we want to say go that route. Because it's not necessarily the next thing if we're going to end up pulling packages out. Johnny?
Yeah, ELN is basically next, right? So from a standpoint of CentOS and RHEL, ELN is going to be the next version of RHEL. So I think that gets confusing if we use that term.
Yeah. And like I said, things may get pulled out. So I'm not loving the fact that we're saying next and then someone likes a package and we pull it. Davida?
For what it's worth, like that was one of the benefits of names like Fast Track, that they convey that this moves at a different speed than the regular one, but it's like it's not connected specifically to anything. So it doesn't have to be Fast Track, but I suspect it might be easier to have an unconnected name like that.
Jack?
Yeah, the more that I think about it, the more I think that proposed is actually very appropriate, because like you mentioned, like proposed is not necessarily next, right? But it could potentially be next. So I think I like proposed, honestly.
I'm going to bring up the thesaurus. Michelle, go ahead.
I was about to say the same thing as Jack was saying. It makes it clear that whatever is being proposed might not make it in, which was one of the concern earlier. That like, hey, you know, like what if it doesn't get in, and people assume it will.
Davida?
So CentOS proposed updates SIG, or just proposed SIG? Proposed SIG sounds funny to me, but I'm also not a native speaker, so maybe it sounds less weird to y'all.
So some of the similar words the thesaurus came up with. Put forward, suggest, advance, offer, present, move, submit, prefer, file, lodge, initiate, bring forward, come up with, tender, and bid. But it also comes up with ask someone to marry you, make an offer of marriage, offer marriage, pop the question. But those were under number 2. Did somebody raise their hand? No. Okay.
Can we call it the wedding SIG?
No, we cannot. Michelle?
Yeah, I think if we are going the proposed route, I think I definitely want it to be proposed updates. So we are not, you know, like we don't get the wedding jokes.
And Tomas likes fast track compared to all proposed. Planned, intended. Oh, we have more words out of a different dictionary. So those first words were from the Oxford Languages, from Merriam-Webster. Planned, intended, contemplated. We're contemplating this. Hoped, meant, aimed, designed, tried, went, looked, wished, calculated, purported, attempted, and considered. I think those are worse. So why don't we go ahead and vote on it right now as fast track? If we come up with something better, Jack likes that, maybe SIG. Proposed is very apropos. All right. Everyone in the room. Thumbs up if you like fast track.
Are we voting on the name or the SIG as a whole?
No, just a name.
Just the name.
I think we got 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we got about 4 or 5. Proposed. Do we have more love for proposed? 1, 2, 3. Michelle?
Only board members, right?
What was that?
You're only asking the board members to
No,
vote.
I'm asking anyone in the room.
Oh.
I said in the room.
Where is the... How do I stand that thing? Oh.
Yeah, it's under the smiley face.
Okay. So which one were you for, Michelle?
Proposed, I think. I like both. I like proposed updates slightly better.
Okay, so I was gonna say, what about proposed additions? But all right, so let's tentatively say it's gonna be called the proposed SIG unless we find out something better. Sean's kind of like an advanced. That has other meanings as well.
It's confusing, but it sounds cool. But
but it's not.
I think it implies higher versions than
Yeah.
would currently be there. So
Right.
it has
Or
ultimate-
higher functionality.
Right.
Proposed updates to PU. All right, so
That's got my vote now.
we are going to, the board is going to vote on, and Davide, you were the sponsor for this, yes? For the
Yes.
SIG, okay. Let me think of the best way of doing this. I'm gonna switch this on. All right, board members, hopefully this will work. If you are in favor of passing the fast track SIG, tentatively named the proposed SIG, give me thumbs up. Tomas, Johnny, Jeffro, Davida. All right, we have majority. All righty, congratulations, fast track, or could be named something different, SIG members.
Ooh.
Yay.
Oh, thank you, everyone. But what do we do now?
Now you
cake.
open up a ticket for Fabian to help set you up.
Yes, there is a list. I can help you with the paperwork.
All right.
All righty, moving down. Issues on hold. Trusting the SIGs by default, number 67 from a CentOS project, secureboot. I thought we had maybe talked about this last time, but it was not in last month's meeting notes. New issue number 132 was created asking about this. I already closed out all the duplicates of 132. Michelle, your mic is feedbacking.
Oh.
Johnny?
I wanted to point out that we are currently working on a secure boot certificate, and it's something that we want to get working for 9 and 10, and it's actively being worked. I don't have a exact status of where we are in the process, but we have submitted paperwork
Okay,
to get an approved certificate. So it's something that we are working on, and it's something that we do want to make happen.
go ahead, Jack.
So Johnny, by paper, do you mean like a shim was submitted to get signed, or?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
And it's in the testing of that's in progress. The commit has been done, and so it's in motion to get the proper shim certificate for shim. So it's something that we are working on right now actively.
Okay, so the one note that I'll stick in here is that usually once the community review is done, the process starts going really, really slowly, mainly because someone at Microsoft needs to kick the ball off to get the process started, to get it signed. If you want to ping me once we have the community review done, I can probably get that expedited on the Microsoft side.
All right.
Okay.
hang on a second.
And I'll check tomorrow exactly where we are in the process.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'll take a look on GitHub too to see where it's at, and if I can do anything to help move it along.
all right, David, I'll let you go in a second. I just want to put notes into issue number 67, so I want to make sure I'm correct before I do it. So the shim has been created. And Johnny, let me know where I go wrong on this. The shim has been created and is being prepared to be sent for signature. Is that correct, Johnny? Okay. When you find out more information, can you update issue number 67 with any notes?
Yeah, I'll get an exact status tomorrow or try.
Okay, thank you very much. This would be awesome news if we can get this finally closed. Davida?
I put the link to the Shimmer view in the board matrix room because I can't type in the chat for this thing, in case folks are curious and want to keep an eye on it.
I think that's already in 67. Yes, it is already in 67 by Troy 14 days ago. So it is also in the issue if anyone wants to look at it there. I'm excited we might finally get that closed. Any other questions concerned about this besides the happy faces for some updates on that long-standing issue? All right, Sean, you're up.
Okay. I don't have a whole lot to say. A reminder, we announced the CentOS showcase will be on April 7th. And that'll be a half-day virtual event, basically my afternoon, so Pacific morning, European evening. The CFP is open for that, so, you know, submit stuff. It'll be open until, I think, March 21st. I think next Friday is what I set it to. So you don't have to wait, though. You can submit right now. And also Scale just happened. Scale was great. I think everyone who was there agrees with that. They continue to have good turnout. Had lots of really good conversations with people. We did that classroom thing again where we do kind of a presentation, and then we did a workshop. That was really well attended. I've talked before about rolling that out at other events. We talked, I think Amy and Jonathan and I talked about some ideas about different kinds of workshops that we could do other than packaging. So that's something, you know, on the radar. And then we had a booth. The booth always had really, really good traffic and a lot of good conversations. So I don't know. Scale was really cool. I think that's everything. I don't think I really have anything to say about Summit except that it's upcoming and people who know stuff about it know stuff about it. So I mean, we'll be there as Red Hatters, but it's, you know, if you're not willing to shell out the $1,000 for, you know, customer pass or whatever, it's probably not interesting to you.
Alrighty. You know, somebody thing somewhere. Apparently Fabian's awake. Okay. Sorry for that. So if we have nothing, does anyone have any other business? I know there's no SIG reports there. Are we getting a SIG report? None. Go ahead, Troy.
This is sort of in the SIG reports thing. A couple of months ago, we passed, actually it was last month, we passed the CentOS SIG Council page. And I haven't heard anything about it. We don't have, there's got to be a meeting before anything moves. This probably isn't the right forum, and I should have put this on the agenda, but I realized it like a minute before the meeting. It's something we need to talk about contacting the people and the members of that council and getting that ball actually rolling now that it's been passed. And if that means me volunteering my hand up, putting my hand up to volunteer, I'm willing to do that.
All right, before I let Sean go, the only reason why it's not linked anywhere is I didn't know how to link it anywhere, so I just merged it. Sean, go ahead.
I had another event thing, but then also follow up to Troy. I should mention also Flock, the CFP closed last week, and the review committee is reviewing this week. So if you have submitted to that, hopefully those should come out by next week or so. Yeah, I think the board approved the SIG Council, and part of it is we have a couple of SIGs that need to be offboarded, and we need to go through our audit process again, which we did about 2 years ago, because there might be others that are inactive now. Do we want to block on that, or do we want to just put people in and?
I don't think we should necessarily block on it. Davida?
Schedule an initial meeting, invite the chairs of every SIG that exists, and treat no response or no communication at all a strong signal for retiring the SIG. Like, no, I don't mean participation, I mean response. Like,
Yeah.
So we're going to scream test it by response. Got it. Michelle?
I was about to say the same thing. We can use the initial SIG bot meeting to weed out the SIGs that are not actually active.
Yeah, and we will have some folks that are European time, because I believe like we've got a seat for Adam Samalak on it, or at least an invite for him to attend when he can, so we can get updates and stuff from there. So keep in mind that it will probably be earlier in the day, but we'll also at the same time have to be careful of our West Coast members who are attending. So getting a schedule up could end up taking us a little longer to do. So maybe, Sean, when you put out that invite, maybe do a time doodle, so that we kill two birds with one stone and we don't have to follow up yet again after we hear back from people. But yeah, I like that idea. Let's basically scream test it with an email invitation. Or we can't actually do an invite without finding out when people's times are free. Anyone else on that topic have any other ideas for that?
Who am I inviting? Part of what I do in the audit is make sure that I have a correct name attached to who's the SIG chair, because that's not always.
Yeah, so I would say
it's not necessarily the sponsor of the FAST group.
Right. No. Oh, it's not necessarily the sponsor of the FAST group.
Maybe it should be, but it's not.
yeah, because half the FAST groups have Fabian as the sponsor because of technical constraints.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we could
Under
go
the web
through the
pages, they should.
pages. Yeah.
Yep. I checked those, but I mean, I guess if I don't have a clear person, then I can just email the alias.
Yeah.
I mean, the FAST alias, basically. So.
Davida?
Also, again, if you can't find a contact for a SIG, the SIG is probably dead.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do think we realized a couple have to stay in existence for automation purposes. But that doesn't necessarily mean that an automation existing SIG needs to be on the SIG Council. So I like this idea of mailing, and let's see who responds. And Sean, you can also count that as your check-in with everybody, I think. And we'll just prune from there. And then if somebody who knows how to link pages wants to link the SIG Council page, that would work. Because when I was looking at the repo, I kind of thought it would automatically pick it up and put it in the sidebar, so it was linked, but apparently not. So that was not intentional to hide it. It was a lack of knowledge. All right, do we have any other business? I know we put that under SIG reports, but that's kind of any other business as well. I believe Tomas put in how we can find the next date and the correct time for the next board meeting on your local calendar, but we will get that fixed for next time. The email that Tomas sent didn't make it to the list, so we also need to find out why that happened.
Make sure it happens. Just confirm that this is the correct timing for you, but I think this was what we did over the years.
Okay. If no one has anything else, I will end this meeting 11 minutes early and y'all can get back to your evenings. I think evening is appropriate for everyone. Or maybe Davida afternoon for the West Coasters. All right, take care all.
Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.